So we have these three things, A, H, and K, all doing distinct things to the graph. So when we put it all together, we have what's called turning point form, which is this one here. Now I'm not going to click on that one, that's just to give you a reference to show you where the A and the H and the K fit into what we call turning point form. But just so you know, the reason why it's called turning point form is, and I'll show you this, I'll create a basic parabola. I won't bother with the dilation, I'll just leave it as A is a 1. But if I move the parabola like so, oops, not 20, that's way too big. So this one here, y equals x take 2 squared plus 1. Now we know that the 2 meant that the graph moved across 2, and the 1 on the end meant that it moved up 1. The reason why we call this turning point form is because if you look at where the turning point of the graph is, it's at 2, 1. The h we change to a 2, the k we change to a 1. And so we have this really easy way of drawing any parabola if it's in turning point form. It's a lot easier than doing it from a table of values like last lesson. And just one more example that I'll make up. If I was going to have the graph of -3, x plus 2 plus 5. If I was going to draw that graph, those three values, the -3, the +2, and the +5, each tell us very specific things about what this graph is going to do. The negative is going to tell us that this graph will reflect. It will change from a convex to a concave parabola. The 3 will tell us that it would dilate and it will be thinner than x squared. It'll be thinner than that graph. It will in fact dilate away from the x-axis. Now the +2 is interesting because our basic format is x take h. So now we have an x plus h, which we didn't look at when we were analyzing what is h. We only looked at x take h in a bracket squared. So it's important to realize that +2 is the same as taking away -2. And that might give us a bit more of a hint as to which way this graph might move. So we know that if h is a -2, then this graph is going to translate horizontally 2 units to the left. The +5 should be pretty straightforward. We know that if k is a positive value, that the graph will move up 5, or if it's negative, it'll go down. Putting it all together, we know that it will be concave. We know that it will be thinner than the blue graph. We know it'll move 2 places to the left, and we know that it'll move 5 places up, which is what we see here. Here's our turning point, -2, +5, -2, +5. It's definitely thinner, you can see that compared to the blue graph, and the negative has meant that it has become concave.